Hello, my name is Morag MacPherson and I'm a textile artist and designer living and working in Kirkcudbright in southwest Scotland. I've made some videos to show you my step-by-step process for surface pattern creation for textiles. This is a process I use when I'm doing digital design. I use Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop, but you can use your own software to create similar results. It's a three-step process, which is the creation of a basic motif, and then the colouring of that motif, and the repeat, which gives you a pattern. I also I've got a booklet here that I've created for you, and if you use that in tandem with the videos, then it will make a lot of sense. The booklet starts with the importance of research, which is something that I'm very passionate about. And if you put a lot of good research into the process before you start the online digital creation, then your patterns will have a lot more integrity. There's also the finding imagery, which happens before you start to create your pattern. And this is another process that's very important. It's great to take your own photographs if you can, to get inspiration in libraries, from books, and also art galleries. So not all just online. So then you're ready to go to draw your motif when you've found your imagery and done your research. And the draw of the motif carries into colouring the motif and repeating the motif with 3 videos. After that, there's a section about how you can then form an entire collection of designs. So once you get into it, there's the option to create lots of designs, all from one idea or research concept. And then you can play around with repeats, colouring, lots of different colourways for one design, all sorts of things you can do, and you can come out with entire collections of designs. I'll be speaking at the end of the 3 videos, a quick overcap of the printing process, which is also done digitally, and a little bit of instruction on the make, sew, patchwork and reuse aspect if you're about to patchwork some of your swatches that you've created. So I hope you enjoy these videos, and I'll speak to you soon. So we start by grabbing a photograph that you have identified from your research process and bringing that into your software that you're using. I'm using Adobe Illustrator, and now we start to draw with the pen tool the basic shape, which is one of the spokes in this piece of textile equipment that I've photographed. But you can see what I'm about to do with it. So it's a very urban photograph, and I'm now copying and pasting to duplicate. So you only need to draw one because they're all identical, and I'm going into the reflective tool and I am clicking on vertical, and that switches it round on the vertical. I'm now putting them both together quite closely, and I'm drawing a line round it in order to group it, and then I'm copying and pasting, and I get another version, and then I'm going to use the horizontal on the axis of the reflective tool, which then just quickly switches it to the other direction that I want it to go in. And then I'm grouping these 4 together now. And then I'm copying and pasting. And then I am going to use the rotate tool and rotate it 90 degrees clockwise and then position it. And you can see now where I'm going with this. I'm starting to form a very industrial looking flower out of an urban photograph, but it's turning it into a nature motif. And then I'm using the ellipse tool to create a circle and positioning that in the centre, and then copying and pasting and making a slight adjustment to scale, and then positioning and copying and pasting again. And putting in position after scaling it down slightly again to give the centre of this urban floral. And then I'm grouping the whole motif after making a slight adjustment just to make sure things are in alignment. So once you're happy with it, group it, and that's you. This video follows on from the basic creation of a motif which I showed you on the last video. We now have our motif and we're going to colour it. So I brought in various different colour palettes from different parts of the Adobe Illustrator. You get them through the Swatch libraries. I've chose the Art History colour palette, and I'm choosing pop art, and I've also chose Russian poster design just because of the type of colour scheme that I want. So now I'm ready to start clicking on each individual urban petal in our urban flower formation. The reason we want to click on them all and group them is because I want to colour all these component parts the same colourway. So this is a quick and easy way to do it. So you just group it and then go to your colour swatch libraries and try different ones. Don't be afraid to try things. You won't be happy with your first selection probably, like I am here. And I've finally selected a nice blue. Then I go to the middle section, which is grouped, so I ungroup it because in this section I want to do the opposite. I want to colour each part in a different colourway, so I want my middle bit to be red, and then I want the second circle behind that to be white, and I want the third circle, which is positioned behind that, to be yellow. And I think this gives my motif quite a nice pop arty kind of feel to it. Then I'm going to select the rectangle tool and draw a rectangle over it, take the line off it and make that into no fill, and then send it to the back, and then you see how your motif looks against a background colour, which can change the appearance of it quite drastically. So I'm trying different colourways until I'm happy with one that works well with the colours that I've put into the motif, and I'm happy with that one, and that is me finished. So as you can see, we now have a coloured motif ready to be repeated. This is the third stage in our 3-step process of surface pattern creation done digitally. So we've drawn the basic motif and then we have coloured it, and now we're ready to repeat it. There is a lot of copying and pasting goes on in this section, which is what I'm doing now. Also moving things into position This will go on for about 3 or 4 motifs across the length of our page. Each time you do it, it makes sense to group them so that you don't have to continually keep repeating 1, and you can repeat 2 and then group the 4, then repeat the 4, group, repeat 8, and on it goes if you're doing a very large piece. Now I'm on to the second line, and I'm about to repeat the whole line there and pull it underneath. And now this is where you can start to get adventurous or creative by pulling it straight underneath and just doing a very simple sort of step and repeat right underneath each other. You can see it's starting to take on a look of, to me it looks like Mediterranean tiles, floor tiles. This is a very sort of uniform repeat. So yeah, once you get your 2 lines, you group them together and then repeat that, and on it goes. So that's one basic way of doing a repeat. Also, you can do a step and repeat, which is moving it to the side rather than just straight underneath. I mean, this is, at this point, you can spend a long time just being creative about your placement of your motif and how you repeat that. And as you see, when you do different formations, different spaces in between start to come to life. So again, lots of copying and pasting and moving into position. So this is a nice, gives it a little bit of an edge where it's not just right underneath each other. And then pulling the 2 again and placing them. So this is my favoured way, I think, of doing it. So this is going to be my favourite repeat. This is what I'm happy with. At this point you can also change your colour scheme, because once you start putting things into repeat, it can start to look very different to your original motif. So if you want to change your colour scheme at this stage, you can. So I think I'm quite happy with that. So what I do now is I create a box, a square box, to give a kind of swatch of it, and I draw it over the whole design to where I want the swatch to sit, and I group all the background, and I make sure my box is at the front, and then I go into clipping mask, make, and there you go. You get your swatch where your repeat runs off the corners, and it looks like a professional swatch that you would get in an interior designer. Hi again, thanks for completing part 1 of creating surface pattern for fabric. We went through quite a few processes where we touched on the importance of research. We found our imagery and we drew a basic motif, coloured and repeated it. And from there you can then continue this process and create your own collections of various different imagery and designs and lots of different colourways as well. So you can have an entire collection from your initial research. After you've completed the design, this then goes to a digital printer. So there's a digital printing outsourced method at the end where you would size your design to whatever product it is you're thinking about making, and then that gets done digitally at a professional industrial textile digital printer who then will send it back to you, and from there, once you get the fabric, you can decide what to do with it. So in part 2, I'm going to show you how to sew a silk scarf. So with your own designs on it, you've got what we just completed there in part 1 onto the actual fabric itself, which in this case I'll be showing you on silk, and I'll show you a quick step-by-step process of how to pin, sew, iron and finish a silk scarf. So I'll look forward to seeing you in part 2. Thank you, bye.